Otherwise, just dead reckoning navigation. So, and over water, you don't do too much dead reckoning navigation. However, we got to Rabaul up close enough to where we started seeing the volcano smoke. And as we got a little bit closer in, we saw a huge ship. It was my first time. I was an enlisted bombardier, incidentally. PFC, 20 years old, on his first bombing mission. Didn't know what in the hell was going on, but I was excited. Now, let me explain Rabaul to you. Rabaul is a horseshoe-shaped harbor. And if this is the horseshoe, out here is the volcano outside of the harbor. And so when we got up close enough to see the harbor, here sat an aircraft carrier tied up to the docks. And I called the pilot and Lieutenant Robinson. I said, let's deviate here and go over there and let me drop a couple of these bombs on that aircraft carrier. No, he wouldn't do it. Regardless of, there wasn't much argument. He said, no, our mission is to bomb the runways so that the other planes can bomb the ships in the harbor. Okay, so here we go. By that time, we saw, instead of being a troop ship, which I thought it was at first, it turned out to be this aircraft carrier. So, and going on then towards the volcano, we started climbing, got up in the smoke of the volcano, and then we could see Lakanai Aerodrome, which was over on the outside of the horseshoe. So we opened the bomb bay doors, put into a dive, clocked about 375 or whatever the airspeed was, and we let down. And we went down to 300 feet at 375, and we dropped 24 100-pound bombs. The accompanying ship in the number 2 position also had 24 100-pound bombs that they dropped. We destroyed some airplanes on the field. We kept the Zeros from coming up bothering the other planes. As we turned off of the airfields and made a turn to the right to get back down on the water, we flew over a building and I saw these 2 red cross panels laid out on top of the building. So naturally I just said, well, that's a hospital. Well, but then by the time a couple of seconds went by, we were flying over it and I could see the machine gun emplacements on the roof of this building. And my co-pilot back there chomping and raising hell, get him, get him, get him. Well, I couldn't get him because zip, we were gone. So I remembered that. And in the course of flying and dropping the bombs, our accompanying plane, Lieutenant Ford's plane, got shot up quite a bit. And as we turned and came off and came back out onto the water and started to climb back up a little bit, he had lost an engine because of an oil leak, and of course it was overheating. He was still running it. The 3-hour flight back to get back to New Guinea, we tried to stay behind him by climbing and then diving down and picking him back up again so we could stay behind him and drop our life raft and stuff. We figured that they were going to have to go down in the water. Fortunately, they didn't have to. But eventually, we lost them. Got into some thunder squalls and showers that you have no idea down there in the South Pacific of the terrific weather that they put up with. But anyway, we got separated, and so we decided then the best thing we could do, no communication now. You didn't use the radio silent. So we decided then to head on our course on back to Port Moresby. Fortunately for Lieutenant Ford and their crew, they did fly a single engine for quite a while and let the engine cool down, restarted it, climbed back up to some altitude, shut it off, and they made it back and crash landed as soon as they got back to the coast of New Guinea and eventually got back to the squadron about, 60 days later. Here we are trying to get back, and we know that we're going to have to come back up on the Owen Stanley mountain range, come through that pass, and then get back down and get to Port Moresby. gentlemen, ladies, kids, if there are any here, when you get on that red light, it gets ticklish. And another thing that bothered us, we had a Bombay tank. As soon as we started flying, after 30 minutes of flying, we started transferring fuel. And by the time we'd flown an hour and a half, we had transferred the fuel out of that Bombay tank into our wing tank, so we knew that we had the empty Bombay tank, and all the gas we had was up there where we could get it into the engines. Consequently, this made us fly over the target with an empty Bombay tank. Now, if you can picture us seeing Japanese Zeros shooting at us with tracer bullets, with the fumes in that Bombay tank, it was another thought to you. You wondered what in the hell was going on, and consequently, several of the boys dropped their Bombay tanks, and the next day an order came out that there was a fine, I believe it was $1,000 fine, but it was huge at that time for whatever it was. If you dropped your Bombay tank, the pilot got fined because we had none to replace it. We had nothing to replace anything with down there. That's why we quit using the B-26. So we completed our mission. We got back to Marsby. We got out. We kissed the ground. I'm telling you, it was something else. The thing that I remember most about the mission, I just heard in TV here a few months ago, what we couldn't do to Rabaul, that volcano did by nature. It destroyed the city of Rabaul and the harbor. It erupted violently. Now, for you all that don't know, a mission, the ladies in here, I know the gentlemen all have had the missions and everything, but when you go on that first mission, you do nothing right. Everything, you never know. We had no experience. Some of you all were trained by myself and others like me that had come back from the Pacific, and we tried to train you all what to expect. But I went on this mission with GI shoes on, unlaced. They weren't tied up.